Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have an article for you guys from the Investors Business Daily. I'll leave a link to it in the description. And just as a disclaimer, I'm no financial expert, no stock expert, so don't go and sell and trade any of your stock based on my opinion. So is T-Mobile a buy given its 5G network edge? So this is still a very interesting point that people make, right? T-Mobile has the advantage in scale, size, 5G, NR, this, that, and the third, right? But they still lack in overall coverage. So there's going to be areas out there where Verizon and AT&T will have LTE where T-Mobile has nothing. So that's just a point that I wanted to make in regards to the 5G edge. Now, is T-Mobile a buy, right? They're in the middle of a huge buyback dividend payout package leading up to $19 billion. They want to do a total of $60 billion by 2026, and that's what they want to give back to investors and shareholders. Now, I'll read off this brief paragraph here. The outlook for T-Mobile stock boils down to Sprint merger synergies, free cash flow growth, and expectations for a big share buyback. Another catalyst for T-Mobile could be market share gains owing to its 5G wireless spectrum advantage versus AT&T and Verizon. So this is how the market is looking at this. The market is really looking at T-Mobile having the 5G advantage. And that's what the market is. That's where they're giving credit to T-Mobile. But none of this has been actually realized yet, right? They're still behind in coverage. They still haven't hit any of their targets. So we got to take that into consideration. Will they do it? More than likely, yes, but they're not there yet. So they still have a ways to go. We still have to get to 2025. They still have to get to 20% share in rural. They still have to get to 20% in enterprise. They still have to conquer all of that. But according to current win rates, they'll get there. But from a financial perspective, and I've been reading several other articles, they're still competing for large share gains. So they're still very high on the customer acquisition cost. So that still cuts into their margins. So they have to figure out other ways on how to get to the free cash flow that they need to get to be able to do the share backs and dividend. They're not just doing share backs and they're not just doing dividend. They're doing both. Verizon and AT&T don't even do both. Verizon would have been now in a position to do both share backs and dividend if they didn't spend over $50 billion on the C-band auction. And I was also told Verizon lost their A rating, their credit rating, because they spent that much. But Verizon was totally fine with that because they knew what that C-band spectrum would do for them long term. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. So we really have to look at how T-Mobile is going to move for the rest of this year going into 2024. More so 2024. Q4 is kind of very competitive. You have to have great promos to get these customers to switch. It's shopping season. So I don't expect many changes from T-Mobile in this quarter. But as we head into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, next year we could get those rumblings and talks again of forced migrations and looking to increase plan cost because T-Mobile has to get to the free cash flow that they want to get to. Right? They got to increase and improve margins. They got to increase not only the ARPA, but the ARPU. No matter what they tell the market, they have to increase this. Right? If you look at how they move, they had the Magenta Max plan in place that they said would lead to them getting, naturally increase in ARPU by 1%. And then ARPA would increase because people are choosing the highest rate card, right? And that was working at that time, but yet they introduced a new rate plan, Go 5G Plus and Go 5G Next, that are priced even higher. So one might ask, well, why did they do that? Because they're chasing a higher ARPU and ARPA, like a much higher one. They have to get closer to what the competition is doing. And slowly but surely, they're getting there. That's why pricing, if you ask me, pricing is no longer a big factor in my opinion. Are they still cheaper? Yes, but it's not a huge gap anymore. And if there are network discrepancies, Verizon and AT&T, I think, could still give you a good enough deal to where you're not paying a lot more, but you're actually getting a better network in some of these areas that T-Mobile doesn't cover well. See, all of that is going to be looked at. And who knows what T-Mobile does next year? They could do fee increases. They could bring back taxes and fees. All of that is in the cards. I'm not putting anything past them anymore, and I'm not surprised at any of these moves if they do come to fruition. So it's really tough, in terms of T-Mobile. Are they a buy? I don't think they're a buy just based off of their 5G network advantage. No, that just can't be. There's still too much competition, and Verizon and AT&T are coming quickly. And if there is an enterprise use case, for whatever, 5G, private networking, Verizon and AT&T are going to be right there. And if it's a big enough use case and, AT&T has to accelerate their C-band build, they are more than capable of doing so. So that's why I'm not too concerned with AT&T. I got the AT&T estimates and the projections. I gave that to the members. So if you'd like to join, a link to that will be in the description. So we have an idea of where AT&T wants to be by the end of 2024 in terms of pops. But if for any reason they need to accelerate, they are very well positioned to do so. They're going to be at a $16.5 billion, $16.5 billion free cash flow by the end of the year. They can easily do, $2, $3, $4 extra billion to accelerate C-band if they choose to. And Verizon is in that same position. Verizon's coming in at almost 18 billion. They can easily do 3-4 billion again next year if they want to. But their capex is coming down because they feel comfortable in that 17 to $17.5 billion range, because One Fiber is slowing down. They have that largely built out. So there's a lot more money that they can allocate to C-band anyway without having to accelerate the capex. So I don't see that necessarily being a huge advantage for T-Mobile for much longer, right? It could be a year, it could be 2, maybe 3 at best. But each year, Verizon and AT&T are outspending T-Mobile. So they close that gap each year. They might not get there toe-to-toe if we're talking just new radios. But as each year passes, they will grow their mid-band footprint, and they will grow their, low-band footprint, whatever, DSS, whatever they choose to use. That will get bigger as each year passes. So eventually, as time goes on, Verizon and AT&T will have voice over NR. They'll have standalone, fully deployed. They'll have ANS solutions, advanced network solutions. They will do bigger scale of 5G private networking. All of them will be there. T-Mobile just got there first. That's the only thing. But T-Mobile's not really chasing it anymore. They're not spending more. If T-Mobile was still at a $12, $13 billion cash flow, capex, elevated, then I would say, okay, these guys are really chasing it. They want to be the leader. They want to really push this. But to be at 9 to 10 billion on the run rate through 2026, and then to say you're going to come in at the lower end, which is really maybe 4 billion more than they were spending as a standalone company. I don't know. They're going to get a lot done. Don't get me wrong. But Verizon and AT&T are coming quick. I've seen some internal documents. They're a fast freight train, and they're not stopping anytime soon. They won't stop, especially Verizon. They are not going to stop until they have either met or exceeded T-Mobile. That's when they're going to stop. And that will come with Verizon's network excellence. So just wanted to talk about that in this video. They're not necessarily just a buy just based off of the network edge they might have on 5G, but they have a ways to go. They got to correct some financial stuff on the margins. They just got to elevate the margins. That likely means in 2024, T-Mobile will likely make more cuts. Retail, call centers, they're going to make more cuts, and I'll discuss that in another video. But that's it for now. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.